Okay, cool. So I want to welcome everyone who's joining us via live stream. This stream is a good preview of a vidwheel Creator Network Zoom Meetup. But if you want to get the full experience, join us at our next meeting, which is on September 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be continuing on our September theme of Live to Digital with a presentation by Kat Sorbello called Planning Your Online Video Course. The event will be published on the vidwheel page on LinkedIn as well. And I'll put a link in the description of this video when it goes to replay. Okay, so the theme this month on the vidwheel Creator Network is Live to Digital, and we're discussing how your business can gain efficiency and effectiveness by switching some of the live tasks that you're used to doing to a digital format with a focus on video. So this meeting itself is a great example. We've all come together to hear the wit and wisdom of Russ tonight. He's down in Binghamton. A lot of us are up here in Buffalo. There's no commute. We all came together to learn about something new without a minute of travel, a penny on accommodations, and maybe most importantly, I avoid Russ's notorious speaking rider. So especially for solopreneurs, saving on time and money like this is a super effective thing to do for your business. Now, with all that said, we're going to move on to the main event. Tonight, we're going to hear about Live to Digital from Russ, the big guy Swanger. Russ is an actor, improv aficionado, speaker, and entrepreneurial consultant, and he himself has had to navigate this kind of live to digital transition. So, Russ, first off, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to this group tonight. Are you ready?
Yeah, you're very welcome.
All right, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Russell Swanger. Most people know me as Russ the Big Guy. And I was kind of struck by some of the things that you were talking about. Everybody seems to be in a transition. And so that's kind of actually what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I thought I would share maybe my experience as an entertainer, as a speaker, as a host. So over the past 15 years or so, I've done thousands probably of presentations as a host for different types of events or as a game show host that I ran for a long time. The Grab Bag Game Show. I don't know if any of you have ever been to any of the events, but I was all over New York State and Pennsylvania and at lots of fairs and festivals and corporate events doing that. I've hosted stand-up comedy nights, and I've done, again, thousands of shows. I got involved with improv maybe 15 years ago, and improv gave me a lot of skills that I really needed. And what I found out was that I do a lot of ums and ahs and ums and you knows and all those crazy types of things. I was even in Toastmasters in my very first meeting where I spoke. It's an introductory speech. It's very short, I think it's only a couple minutes or a minute and a half. It's very short, and it helps everybody introduce themselves as a new member. I had 32 ums and ahs because they count them. So if you can imagine 32 ahs in a minute, that's pretty bad. And it is still something that I have trouble with. But what I wanted to share with you was just the idea that I'm really experienced in live events, and I'm very comfortable in live events. If you give me a microphone and 1,000 people, I would gladly stand in the middle of them with no script and entertain them and do whatever needs to be done over the next hour or two or what have you. So when everything started going to digital, I thought, well, this will be easy for me. But what I found out was it wasn't. So my self-consciousness came back to me because I could see myself as I was performing. I forget to look at the camera a lot, and I get self-conscious about my big nose and my hair being out of place, and oh dear, do I have a pimple started, and all those things. They really sort of get in my head and mess me up, even after all of the live events that I've done. So for me, it's been quite a transition. And I started doing a lot of video for social media. And tried all different kinds, and I even did a podcast, a live video cast, I guess you would call it, very much like this. Only we had we had done it. Excuse me, we had done it a couple times. I had partners on both of them. One of them was a 2-camera shoot, and what happened on both of them was I found out that the post production was a real bottleneck, and I had trouble getting product out in a timely manner. Whether I had a volunteer or I paid somebody, or we did it ourselves, it was always a bottleneck. So I kind of gave up on video, and then I had an opportunity with the pandemic to have some space available. Like many people, my business, my 2 income streams that I had came crashing down, and I lost my interns. And we had started doing, or we were doing video. We were going to build that up, and I had an empty space. So I thought, I'll do a podcast, and I'll make it as simple as possible with as little outside, after editing as possible. I'll do as much myself as I can. And so in January, I started a podcast, and I've been able to put out at least one a week since then. I have some interesting ways to get people to interview, and so I use my contacts that I have. I use LinkedIn a lot, and I also use a company called Podmatch, which has started to introduce me. And I haven't gotten into that too much yet, but I've had mixed success so far. If the people who did show up to the interview are extremely interesting and a lot of fun to interview. So that's what I'm doing there. And so the next thing that I'm working on is video. So like you guys, I'm kind of in a transition phase. And I decided that I would take my home office, which I'm coming to now from my home office, and turn it into a podcast studio. And I have all the equipment here, and I have an old green screen on the wall. And so I thought, you know what, I'll just use kind of some of the pieces that I've used in the past that I know work, and we'll do a green screen presentation, and I have a nice graphic made with some of this information for you. And as Neil can attest to, it must be the solar flares, because I couldn't get the green screen to operate properly. And so I don't have the new setup here, and so we just bailed on it. But that's kind of the frustration of probably you're all experiencing. If you're at one point or another in your process of developing like a new product, or continuing to like try to get better at different things and improve, which is what I do. So it seems like we're all kind of the same place there. But I wanted to sort of be an example for the people that are maybe having problems, or maybe don't feel like they can do a great job with a video. I've done so much live that I'm incredibly competent doing that, but then the video was definitely difficult for me. So I think I've gotten a little better at it. When I'm using I wanted to do this tonight with the simplest equipment possible. So I had just simple lighting, the green screen, and I'm using the camera and microphone from my laptop. One of the bad parts about that is I forget to look at the camera, and I keep looking at myself. So I'm actually in the process of buying another camera that'll drop down into the middle of the screen, and then I can actually look at whoever is on the screen, and the camera will be right there, right next to them. So that's kind of an interesting new technology that's just being released. So I don't know if a lot of you find that you're self-conscious when you're on video. I think that's one of the things that's probably my biggest hurdle. And it's sort of unusual, because I've been in the public eye as an entertainer doing all kinds of things for years and years. And when I'm live, it doesn't seem to bother me very much. Some of the things that I've done that help me improve that and overcome that is just to make like a conscious decision that I'm going to do the videos, and that I'm just going to accept whatever, however I look, however I come across. I'm just going to accept whatever that is. I'll try to be better as time goes by, and try to be more conscious of the way I present myself and the way I speak. But I think that, I prefer action over anything else. That's part of the reason why my different business ventures right now are called Going Boldly. So I have Going Boldly, the podcast, Going Boldly Success Coaching, and also Going Boldly You, where I do the training. But I think making a conscious decision to, do something like damn the torpedoes kind of concept, just like do it no matter what, that really is helpful. Toastmasters was a great help to me. It helped me get my confidence up in speaking and presenting myself. And it also is a place, if you get in the right club, there are really great examples of people there who are doing really cool things. And that's, with this organization is kind of another way to do that. You're with people who have the same interests and at different skill levels with different things, different levels of knowledge that you can share with people. And, you can learn from other people as well. One of the other things that really helps me a lot is to do my own editing. And I know that a lot of people use virtual assistants or virtual, people for that, or they hire it out to other companies. But for me, it has been an eye opener to be able to go back in and edit either audio or video. And it's helped me and be more conscious of how I come across. And it's also helped me learn, at least in terms of like how to interview better, how different questions come across. Maybe where I could have done a follow-up question or something that I didn't do for whatever reason, or sometimes if I'm distracted and I note it and I catch that. So those types of things have been pretty important in terms of developing, say, like my skill with interviewing and presenting myself on video. One of the other things that I found is really helpful is repetition. And if you've been doing this for a long time, you probably realize that too, is it just doing something over and over and over again, it just becomes much more natural for you. And when something crazy happens, like today, I literally rebooted the computer, and at 1 minute of it turned back on, and then the for some reason the green screen still didn't work, so I just reverted back to here. All right. So I'm actually, like I said, I'm at my desk. So, and I think the evolution is kind of an important thing. So if we can. Even as a business owner, like you guys, one of the cool things that I found out over the years is we're all goal oriented, and we always have like ideas as an entrepreneur to move forward and do reach some new level, to create or make some new thing, or increase our income to a certain dollar figure or something like that. But sometimes we forget to enjoy the process. And like, I feel like that's where the success and the joy and the fulfillment really is. It's like the process. So as as we're doing all the things that we like to do, really pay attention to that. And I think that that's like a very rewarding part of it. So I consider that like, like I said, like it's the journey, right? So that's really where the value is, and trying to be present in all the things that you're doing. And I found that to be extremely helpful for myself. And I guess like, you guys have different levels of ability, but what my intention is here is I got a brand new green screen in. It's it's about 8 feet long. It comes down from the ceiling like the old projection screens. So it's much nicer than the one I just tried to use now, a very consistent color. I have new lighting in, which unfortunately I don't have up today. And I also got a standing desk because I found that I don't like to be sitting down. I feel trapped. And since I like the live events the most, I thought, well, that might be a way for me to try to kind of simulate that I'm in the middle of an audience or in a group or presenting to an audience, as opposed to sitting, which I've been doing even in my podcasts. I do that. But I just got the desk in and used some of the money from one of the sponsors that I got from my podcast. And so we're doing that. So I've got new microphones that I already have that I'll be hooking up. I'm going to start use the camera here and try to get the lighting a little better. Again, I'm going to use a green screen background, which I've used before, which works great when it works. And I think that's about it. So I guess that's the end of my presentation as such. I just wanted to to kind of just say, like, I thought if we have newer people, just don't be hesitant, just go for it. I've done so many presentations and shows and different types of entertainment, and I was still anxious and self-conscious coming into the video. I feel much more confident still in a live situation or even just audio with my podcast. But right now, it's been a little bit of a struggle for me to kind of put all the pieces together. I guess one of the good things about the repetition and getting a lot of time under your belt doing something is that when something goes bad or goes wrong and you have to, hurry up, you're not in a panic when the lights go on and the camera's on. So thanks for listening. I don't know if you have any questions or comments. I'm happy to do whatever, Neil.
Sure. Yeah, that's excellent. All great info. And I will start off with a couple of quick things for Russ. And if anybody has a question, feel free to either pop it in the chat or you can raise your hand or just ask it. So a lot of folks, Russ, have the camera turns on, right? And all of a sudden things are different, or the lens is right in your face and all of a sudden it feels different.
Absolutely.
What do you think that is? Do you attribute to that to anything specifically? Like, why does that
what
thing?
What it actually is us getting into our heads. And we're in our heads, and that's not where we need to be. We need to be present with whatever it is that we're doing. So if we're recording something, we need to be looking at the camera, and we need to be imagining that we're talking to one person. And if we're owning a business, then that's our avatar. That's our one person that best describes our ideal client, our ideal customer. And so that's one way to do it. And the experience, again, just the repetition of doing things often and over again helps you, get beyond that. I would say also, if you are, in acting, we teach people to move and breathe. And that concept is used in counseling. It's used in lots of different areas. And if you just think about that, you physically move and you breathe and get oxygen into your body. In an improv situation, if you're on stage and you get stuck for some reason, all of a sudden you'll pop into your head, and that's not where you want to be. So you take a deep breath and you physically move on stage, and something will come to you. The energy changes, your body changes, and that's a great way to do it. And if there's a way to kind of simulate that when you're on camera, even just if you're a little stressed out, what happened is, so I'm talking and I'm talking and I'm talking, but I haven't inhaled yet, and I'm starting to run out of air, and I'll be doing vocal fry pretty soon, and you gulp a little bit, and that's all stress. So if you just take a deep breath, it helps a lot. And I don't know, has anyone done improv? The yes anding helps a lot too, especially if you're interviewing someone and you feel stuck, or people go right in their heads right away. Oh my gosh, what did I do? I'm stuck. I don't know what to say.
That's a great point too, right?
Yeah.
Like the move and breathe as a way to kind of get yourself unlocked. But can you talk a little bit about the yes and
Absolutely.
that you just mentioned with improv?
I can and I will. Yeah. So yes anding is kind of the basic, and you've heard of that and probably in different places, but that's the basic of improv. I've done, like I said, thousands of classes, teaching classes and doing shows, and it's a lot of fun. So yes anding is simply agreement. On its most basic level, you are saying, yes, I agree with whatever you just said, and I'd like to build on it to improve the scene, to build the scene, right? To create a scene, to create a play, to create a song, to create a discussion, to create an interview that's interesting. Because when you build, you're adding something of value and you're presenting it back to your scene partner, or in the case of an interview, the person that you're interviewing. So yeah, I agree. And I found out that even people in a sales situation, or people who are actors, or people who just have trouble carrying on a conversation at the grocery store, really excel when they use the idea of yes and build. There, I just gave you an example of it.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. That can be a lifesaver when you get locked
and the other
up.
person, I just gave you 5 or 6 different things that you could then react to. So that's kind of the basis of it.
That's excellent. I don't know if anybody has a question. Otherwise, I can keep rolling through some of my notes here. Anybody have one? No. Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to say I love the concept that you put out there that I'm going to call action over stagnation. We always talk about in this network the whole make a conscious decision to do the video and know that that's not your best video, right? Yeah. You're going to improve from there. You're going to have incremental improvement is kind of one of the, well, I say it all the time. I don't know. I guess it's one of the common themes that comes out of, meetings that we have within the network and so on. You just got to not be afraid to ship it, and then not be afraid to look at yourself critically and improve from there. So
yeah, I agree. I have trainings that I do. I have publications that teach people different skills. I have I've done a lot of improv training and things like that, and that's one of the common denominators among all of them is action. And even if you don't know your why yet, even if you haven't defined your values yet, even if you haven't done the visualization work to figure out what your huge goal is and what it's going to look like as you've succeeded and reached it, you need to move. You need to have action. You need to be doing something, right? Because that creates the energy that's going to allow you to then focus yourself, to be able to steer, to be able to have the the interest and stuff to explore some of that other work. And they're all super important. To do those things, like understanding your why and all those types of things are so extremely important. But if you don't do something, if you don't do it, it doesn't, you don't have it. It doesn't work. That fuel is not going to be there for you. So that's one of the things that I just encourage people to do is just like do something, even if it almost doesn't matter if it's wrong, because we make mistakes all the time. If you do something and it's wrong and you screw it up, you're going to learn a lot from it. And you'll be surprised at what kind of opportunities open up for you just from the simple fact that you've done something, right? Your brain changes the way it operates when you make a decision to do something and you do it. That's the important part, is doing it. So yeah, I agree.
That's the maybe overused Michael Jordan, you miss every shot or 100% of the shots you don't take, or that type of thing, right?
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah.
Got to take
and he missed a lot of foul shots.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything that they want to ask Russ here? No. All right, I've got one more then. We talk a lot in the group too about the post-production bottleneck, which you touched on a bit. It can be such a deterrent, especially for smaller businesses, to create video content. And I liked the kind of suggestion you had of doing a podcast. I'll let you kind of talk about why that was an easier post-production situation than maybe if you tried scripted or something earlier, or I can just keep rolling.
No, that's good. So is your question why I did an audio only podcast without video?
Well, no, why you went to a podcast format. You said that you were getting caught up in post-production early on.
Yeah.
Audio or video, I think it stands to be the same answer. What was better about the podcast than, say, other stuff you had tried to do?
Well, I think that when I use a service that records it for me, for example, like Zoom, that just takes a lot of the hassle out of it, right? So there's less engineering, there's less technical problems, there's to go wrong. And I've had everything from bad cables to somebody, burning out outside the studio with their automobile, to forgetting to turn off the air conditioner, and there's a shh through the whole interview. I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong. So my goal is to just make everything as simple as possible. And if it means that I don't have to have a second camera with an operator, then maybe that's better. Right? I don't know. Maybe it's better if you have a second camera and you operate it yourself. So I have equipment for my audio only podcast right now, which is basically an engineer in a box. And I can do 4 live interviews, or I can do live and over Zoom. And I don't have to do much. There's a lot of presets. And then it just pops out, and I like to edit it myself. So I actually use a free editing software, and I'm doing the same with video. Free or low cost editing software for that. So yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. And what I was kind of, is another thing that comes up a lot. I always say the easiest way to create content is to talk to somebody smarter than you and record it, right? Like that's the podcast. You talk to somebody who knows more than you do, you record it, instant content, right?
Yeah.
especially if you're doing it over Zoom or something. So,
Well, yeah. And, I just find that even events like this, like there are people on here that probably are way smarter than me with a lot of the technical things. And I heard somebody, somebody earlier was talking about stuff. I like, oh my gosh, I really, that's like the wrong part of my brain. So
was that the quark
she's,
stuff?
she's the person that I'm going to go talk to for any of that.
So, yeah. Well, sometimes it goes, we get into some other subjects early in these meetings. So, excellent. Well, I don't know if anybody else has a question, and if not, we can kind of roll into ending notes. I'll just give one last ask, or if in every interview I do, I usually ask people at the end if conversations knocked anything loose. Do you want to put out any kind of closing statement or anything, Russ?
Oh, me.
Yeah.
I like what we talked about earlier, which is action, which is, have a preference for action as opposed to inaction. And however you want to translate that, or however you want to replace the word action with some other word, but it's beyond planning. It's beyond a decision. 5 birds are sitting in a tree. 3 birds decide to fly away. How many birds are left in the tree? And the answer is 5, because none of them flew away. So they just made a decision to do it, but they didn't take action. So I guess that'd be my final word, is just like, do it. If you're thinking about buying a new piece of equipment, buy it. If you haven't started your podcast yet, or if you haven't started recording video for promotional purposes or social media, just get started on it. Again, I'm frustrated video person. So I'm doing everything I can to simplify the process. And very shortly, I will be cranking out video on social media and other places like crazy. So that's kind of the next step in my evolution.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you. I think that's an awesome way to wrap it up. And I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us via live stream. Again, don't miss the next meeting of the vidwheel Creator Network. It's coming up on September 23rd at 8 p.m. It's Kat Sorabello who's going to talk with us about planning your online video course. There'll be info in the link description. Thank you again, Russ,